Blood. Blood that stains the very soul it binds tightly to the one who released it. A walking dead man, an undead corpse just waiting to die. He surveys the many mangled and ruined bodies surrounding him. They were also alive moments ago, before his blade turned them into macabre spectacles. He stands peacefully, calmly taking in his very own artwork. Then he turns and walks towards his next assignment. Apparently a warlord had paid for the eradication of a small mountain village an hour's journey from this once untainted ground. As he walked towards it, he considered bathing, but decided against it. Gore had such a pleasant smell to him, and the sight of blood brought a smile to his face. But as he approached the village, a man stood outside. He was weathered and weary-eyed, but the young man knew him well. "What are you doing here, old man?" "You know why." The young man's eyes flared. "Stand down, I will kill you." No, you won't." The old man drew a long curved blade made of silver. The young man gritted his teeth and charged, drawing his dagger. The younger slashed at the old man's face, a blow to stab out the eye and enter the brain. Yet the old man twisted his neck and stabbed at the young man's heart, hoping to kill him quickly, but the young man deflected the blade off his dagger. They fought like this for hours, before the young man landed his first blow, stabbing the old man's lungs, causing gorgeous blood to splurt out of the wound. "I win again, old man." The old man gripped the younger shoulder to steady himself. "I will kill you one day." Then the defender falls, spilling ruby drops of blood upon the earth. "Yes, old man, we shall fight again, but you will always fall." He smiled, a look of humor, as he saw the child watching from the bushes. "Run along, child. Tell your parents the Grim Reaper has come to take them to hell." The child ran as fast as she could, but the Reaper did not as much as jog after her. This village was doomed the moment the defender fell. He grinned a sick, twisted look of perverse pleasure as he walked into the threshold of the village, a place that would soon become the inhabitant's grave. 7 hours later, a young man opens his eyes as he always does. He stands up from the road which he had just died upon. He then breathes in a breath of air and walks into the village which he is at the entrance of. He walks through the threshold, glancing at the macabre scene spread out before him. A woman's body torn limb from limb, her head sitting inside her torn open ribcage. Sadness welled inside the boy. He speaks the words that fill his heart. "I'm so sorry. It's my fault I didn't stop him." Then the boy walks through the town, apologizing to each shredded corpse, until he reaches the other entrance where the murderer sits dissecting the body of a girl. He had calmly and cleanly filleted her body while she was still alive. Her screams had filled the air a few minutes ago, before blood loss had caused her to go silent, and her consciousness finally began to fade. The boy can see all this through the murderer's eyes. He turns his gaze to the boy, smiling. "Hello, brother. Have a nice rest." The boy simply glares at his sibling before walking to the girl's body, tears in his eyes. "Please forgive me," he asks softly. His sibling stands up and steps over the corpse, placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. "Ready to go?" "Yeah," his brother states with a sigh. "I call the beef jerky tonight." He turns and smiles at his brother. "You had it last night, so it's my turn." "Fair enough," said the bloody younger brother. They walked hand in hand out of the village of corpses to find a suitable place to spend the night. As we lay on our bed of leaves inside the pit containing our heat, a thought comes to the boy. "You shouldn't have killed them. It was wrong of you." His brother stood quickly and angrily glared at his sibling. "If you had truly wished to, you could have stopped me. Do not blame another when the fault belongs to you alone." His brother laid on the earth. The boy did not speak, only bowed his head and cried tears of agony, pain, and shame. The boy awoke slowly. He rose from the bed, the icy wind biting at his flesh. He turned to look for his brother, but found only the wind and the trees. He sighed softly and began walking down the long, desolate road. He walked for many hours, simply plodding along without hope or peace. But as the day drug on, the child spotted a group of men walking towards him. Even in the distance, the boy's keen eyes could see their eyes. Those greedy, cruel eyes, so devoid of compassion. Yet the boy did not halt, did not run, simply plodded along. When they approached, their eyes showed arrogance and perverse amusement. The first barred the boy's way, showing mock concern as his brethren surrounded the child, yet the boy did not shirk, only stood motionless as they descended on him, beating him. Then after he fell, they kicked him until the pain enveloped the boy, and his consciousness began to fade, yet his thoughts were not on himself, but on the dead, on those who he failed to save. When his eyes opened again, he saw naught but a thatched roof. Confusion gripped him, and he propped his hands underneath him. But as he did, his muscles clenched. Agony swept through him. His ribs seared as if burned. His arms felt as though they were covered in lead, and his head felt as though a hammer had been smashed against it. He groaned in pain and laid limply on the bed. "Are you all right?" a voice asked softly. The boy turned his eyes and head towards the voice and beheld a small girl about his size. Her skin was the color of the dark trees he had seen in his youth. Her sharp cheekbones prominently shone her smooth cheeks, but it was her eyes that caught his gaze, almond-colored eyes full of brightness. He sat there for a moment, just looking into her eyes until she poked his cheek. "Well, are you okay?" "Yeah," the boy said softly. "Good," the girl said with a smile. "My name's Akam. What's yours?" "Lucifer." "That's a funny name," Akam said with a giggle. "I suppose so. Say, Akam, where are we?" "You're in my village. We live next to the bank. It's easier to catch fish that way," Akam said, smiling. The boy turned his head towards the light shining through the door. Outside the door was a swamp, a place of trial, yet perhaps here he would find rest. Lucifer looked happily back at his newfound friend. "I'm glad I'm here, Akim." The man opened his eyes to the sound of footsteps that only one man could have. Lucifer rose, dressed, and readied his blade. He took a final moment to look at his sleeping wife. She was just as beautiful as when he had first met her all those years ago. "Be safe, Akim," the man whispered softly. Lucifer walked out of his home towards the footsteps. He caught sight of the intruder as he neared the forest line. The same amused eyes, the same cold smirk, and the same blade worn on the man's back. "Hello, Lucifer, you're looking well." "Hello, Erebos. What brings you here?" Erebos grinned. "You know why. I'm here on business. And if you'll step aside this time, I'll let your little whore go on to fulfill her role another time." Lucifer said nothing, only looked into his opponent's eyes and drew his sword. It was a short sword this time, and it gleamed white in the morning light. He'd had it forged 5 years ago, much to his wife's disapproval. Erebos scowled. "You know I was going to let that little whore of yours live. I really was, but I'm going to enjoy killing her after I rape her. But don't worry, I'll make sure she's not too torn apart so you can see your beloved wife lowered into the earth." Erebos then drew a long curved blade and slashed at his brother. Lucifer parried, stabbing for Erebos' eyes, but his brother's feet were too quick. Erebos slid back just enough for the sword to be mere inches from his face, then counterattacked, swinging an overhand strike. Lucifer rushed forward, stabbing at his brother's heart. The curved blade gleamed as the blow stabbed deep into Lucifer's right shoulder, cracking bone and spraying blood onto the forest floor. Erebos smiled triumphantly until he collapsed, Lucifer's short sword embedded in his heart. "A good job, brother. I suppose you really did love that human." Erebos' voice wavered as he neared death's door. "No, she was only a means to an end, and now her purpose is fulfilled." Erebos smiled. "You know, we're not too different." His smile faded, his body succumbing to death's embrace. Lucifer fell to his knees, the poison finally taking effect. He laid down, knowing that soon 2 young boys would walk down the road again, just as they had for the last 1,000 years.